Hello everyone. Today's our topic for discussion is hemoglobin metabolism. So in today's class we'll be discussing a brief about the chemistry of heme, then a little bit about the synthesis of heme and regarding the breakdown of heme. So hemoglobin is a globular conjugated chromoprotein which is found in the RBCs mainly, and its molecular weight is 67,000 daltons. And we know that the major function of hemoglobin in human body is that it is a part of it is a work as a prosthetic group of heme, which is mainly involved in the transport of respiratory gases and buffering action. In addition to that, this heme, which is acting as a prosthetic group of multiple proteins and enzymes in human body, such as other than hemoglobin, myoglobin, cytochrome, then cytochrome P450 enzymatic system, and enzymes like catalase, peroxidase, tryptophan pyrrolase, etc. And heme, which is synthesized from porphyrin and iron. Porphyrin ring system, which is coordinated with the central iron atom. So the normal level of hemoglobin in human body is that in males it is 14 to 16 gram per deciliter, and in females it is 13 to 15 gram per deciliter. So in detail about the structure of hemoglobin, I said it consists of the prosthetic group as heme. This heme, which consists of protoporphyrin ring system, specifically the 9 series and the central iron atom, and the upper protein, which consists of the core protein consists of globin side chains. This globin side chain can be either a 2 alpha globin chain and 2 beta globin chain, or it can be 2 alpha or 2 gamma globin chain, and or it can be 2 alpha and 2 delta globin. It depends on the type of hemoglobin which is present. So the adult hemoglobin is HbA, which consists of 2 alpha chain and 2 beta globin chain in the heme structure, and fetal hemoglobin, that is HbF, which is present only 1% in the adult body. It consists of 2 alpha chain and 2 gamma chain, and HbA2, it is only 2% in human body, in adult human body, which consists of 2 alpha and 2 delta globin side chain. So the structure in detail, you can appreciate the figure that it consists of 4 pyrrole ring system. 1, 1, 2, 3 and 4. 4 pyrrole ring system, which is linked together by methynyl bridges to form a tetrapyrrole, and it consists of the side chain as 4 methyl group, 4 methyl group and 2 vinyl group and 2 vinyl group and 2 propionic side chain. So this is in detail about the structure of heme. And in human body, actually, mainly type 3 series, the asymmetric arrangement of side chain are predominant and which is abundant and physiologically important. You can appreciate the figure here, the arrangement of methyl group, vinyl group and propionyl group. So the type 1 series, which has a symmetric arrangement, that means alternative MV, MV, like that. Here, type 3 series, the asymmetrical arrangement of side chain, you can see 1358. That means methyl group 1, 3, 5. It should be here in 7, but here it is in 8th position. That is 1358 and 2467. So remember, in human body, type 3 series is predominant and it is the biologically important heme. Let's go in detail about the heme biosynthesis. Heme biosynthesis take place in almost all the cells in human body, but it occurs a little greater extent in bone marrow and liver cells. So in bone marrow, it is mainly utilized for the synthesis of RBCs or hemoglobin for the purpose of transport of oxygen, whereas in liver it is mainly used for the synthesis of non-RBC cells like the other proteins and enzymes, specifically for the cytochrome P450 enzymatic system synthesis. Because liver is the major metabolic organ, so majority of the heme which is synthesized in human liver is mainly utilized for the enzymatic purpose, mainly for the cytochrome P450 monooxygenase enzyme synthesis. And remember that it is not occur in the matured RBC. Heme synthesis does not occur in the mature RBC. Why? Because in mature RBC, it is a non-nucleated cells. So mainly which occurs in the normoblast. And the pathway, the organelle where it is located or where it is actually synthesized. So remember that heme synthesis is partly cytoplasmic and partly mitochondrial. Why? Because some of the steps which occurs in the mitochondria and some which occurs in the cytoplasm. For example, step 1, 5, 6 and 7 which occurs in mitochondria, and step 2, 3 and 4 which occurs in the cytoplasm. Overall 7 reactions are there in heme synthesis. Now the steps involved in the heme biosynthesis is ALA synthesis. ALA is delta amino levulinic acid. That is the first and committed step of heme biosynthesis. Second one, formation of PBG, that is porphobilinogen. Then formation of UPG, that is uroporphyrinogen. Then synthesis of CPG, that is coproporphyrinogen. Then synthesis of PPG, that is protoporphyrinogen, and generation of protoporphyrin third series, and finally the generation of heme. So the first step in heme biosynthesis is that the biosynthesis of ALA, that is delta amino levulinic acid, and remember this step which occurs inside the mitochondria. So here the step is that it is a condensation of succinyl coenzyme with glycine to the formation of delta amino levulinic acid, where a carbon dioxide molecule will be released and the coenzyme part of the succinyl coenzyme also will be getting released. And the enzyme here, it is delta amino levulinic acid synthase enzyme, ALA synthase enzyme. Remember, ALA synthase enzyme requires the coenzyme as pyridoxal phosphate, and this is the rate limiting step in biosynthesis. This pathway which explains the overall synthesis of heme. So first step we have already been discussed, that is the condensation of succinyl coenzyme with glycine with the help of enzyme ALA synthase, which occurs inside the mitochondria. Now this delta amino levulinic acid enters into the cytoplasm. So, for such molecule of delta amino levulinic acid which condensed with the help of enzyme ALA dehydratase to form the first pyrrole ring as porphobilinogen. You can see the enzyme here, it is ALA dehydratase enzyme, and we are getting the first porphyrin ring as porphobilinogen with the elimination of 4 molecule of water. And further, this is the second step. Now the third step, which consists of two enzymatic reaction. One is PPG deaminase, which also known as UPG1 synthase, and the second enzyme UPG3 synthase, uroporphyrinogen C3 synthase. So let's see what is this reaction. The first thing is that 4 molecule of porphobilinogen which condenses to form a linear molecule, that is hydroxymethylbutane. The enzyme is PPG deaminase, porphobilinogen deaminase enzyme, with the elimination of 4 molecule of ammonia. And here we are getting the intermediate structure as hydroxymethylbutane. Here you can see that the ring is not closed, which is a linear structure, linear hydroxymethylbutane. Further, what happens? This undergoing the ring closure occurs with the help of uroporphyrinogen 3 synthase enzyme, UPG3 co-synthase enzyme, which helps for the closure of the ring under normal circumstances and the synthesizing the third series of uroporphyrinogen. And remember step 2, which includes two enzymatic reaction, PBG deaminase or UPG1 synthase with the Deamination, elimination of 4 molecule of ammonia to form hydroxymethylbenzene adenine tetrapyrrole ring system, immediately which closed with the help of UPG3 co-synthase enzyme to form uropyrenogen 3 series. Usually in human body, the third series is predominant. Now the next step. So we have discussed step 1, step 2, and this together this is step 3. And step 4 is that, again, remember step 2, step 3 and step 4 which occurs inside the cytoplasm. So in step 4, this UPG3 will be undergoing decarboxylation with UPG3 decarboxylase enzyme. Here, the acetyl group, you can see that alternative propionic acid, acetyl group propionic acid, acetyl group propionate acetate, like that. Here, 4 molecule of acetyl group undergoing decarboxylation to form coproporphyrinogen, which consists of, instead of acetyl group, which consists of methyl group in its structure. For methyl group which is replaced, the acetyl group is replaced by the methyl group. Remember here the step is that UPG3 decarboxylase enzyme which catalyzing the decarboxylation of acetyl group to methyl group, and we are getting the structure as coproporphyrinogen or third series, which is already along with this thing. Okay, now the next reaction which again occurs inside the mitochondria. So this coproporphyrinogen which enters into the mitochondria, where what will happen, again another decarboxylation. The out of 4 propionic acid, 2 propionic molecule which undergoing oxidative decarboxylation. You can see that 2 molecule of carbon dioxide eliminated, simultaneously oxidation also occurs. So this reaction is an oxidative decarboxylation with the help of enzyme coproporphyrinogen oxidase enzyme. So remember here the step is that 2 molecule of propionic acid undergoing decarboxylation, at the same time oxidation, oxidative decarboxylation, and this 2 molecule of propionic acid is are replaced as vinyl group. Again, it is represented as Vi, that is vinyl group. Okay, now your structure which generated is protoporphyrinogen 9 series. Now next is that this protoporphyrinogen undergoing oxidation with the help of protoporphyrinogen oxidase enzyme. Here the reaction is simply the changing of methylene bridge to a methyl bridge. You can see single bond is converted as carbon double bond. So methylene bridge, the bridge which helps to join these four ring system is with the methylene bridge so far. Now which will be converted as methyl bridge, that is done with the help of the oxidation of this ring system or bridges, which is done with protoporphyrinogen oxidase enzyme. So that is the next step. Now the protoporphyrinogen, next step is that the introduction of iron molecule into the protoporphyrin, and we are getting the final structure as heme. The enzyme which helps for this step is as ferrochelatase enzyme. That is the last step occur for the synthesis of heme. So this is the overall pathway for the generation of heme biosynthesis. Overall 7 reaction occurs. Step 1, then step 5 and 6 and 7 which occurs inside the mitochondria, and the remaining step which occurs, that is second step, third step and fourth step which occurs inside the cytoplasm. Remember, you may feel that this is second and third, but that reaction is together. It's a single enzymatic reaction. Hydroxymethylbenzene is an intermediate only. So this is a simple pathway which explains the overall heme biosynthesis. You can follow this kind of pathway while writing the heme biosynthesis as a short answer, which is given in your textbook. You can copy that. Now regarding the regulation of heme biosynthesis. So regulation is mainly done with, I said the first reaction, ALA synthase reaction. As ALA synthase is the enzyme which is regulating the overall heme biosynthesis, and this ALA synthase is regulated by repression mechanism. That means the product itself inhibits the ALA synthase enzyme. So the product, final product is heme, which itself causing inhibition of ALA synthase enzyme. Then secondly, the ALA synthase allosterically inhibited by hematin. Hematin is actually normally the iron present in the heme is in the ferrous ion, which will be getting oxidized to ferric ion. That is the iron status in the hematin. This hematin also can inhibit the ALA synthase enzyme. Then next factor is the compartmentalization. We have already been described in detail regarding the arrangement of enzymes of heme biosynthesis. That means step 1, 5, 6, 7, which is inside the mitochondria, and step 2, 3, 4 inside the cytoplasm. This compartmentalization of enzyme itself can have some role in the regulation of heme biosynthesis. Now the another factor, drugs like barbiturates, which induce the enzyme activity by decreasing the amount of heme. Barbiturates, which require heme containing cytochrome P450 enzymatic system for their metabolism. So while the introduction of barbiturates, which is a central nervous system dependent drug, so if you're taking the barbiturate, that can inhibit the heme biosynthesis and the HB level, or which can even lead to anemia. And the next regulatory factor is that the step catalyzed by ferrochelatase and ALA dehydratase enzyme. Ferrochelatase is the last enzyme which helps for the introduction of heme into the protoporphyrin, and ALA dehydratase is the second enzyme for the heme biosynthesis. These two enzymes can be inhibited by lead. So the accidental ingestion or consumption of lead can cause the inhibition of these two enzymes, and which can inhibit the heme biosynthesis. So lead poisoning is another reason for the anemia. Then the sixth point is that another drug, isonicotinic acid hydroside, INH, which is an antituberculous drug, which decreasing the availability of pyridoxal phosphate. Remember, PLP is a coenzyme which required for the ALA synthase enzyme. So without ALA synthase enzyme proper activity, heme biosynthesis does not occur. So those who are consuming antituberculous drug may have this anemia because of the decrease in ALA synthase activity. And the last point is that high cellular concentration of glucose, which can prevent the induction of ALA synthase enzyme. Okay, this is overall about the regulation of heme biosynthesis. Now regarding the disorders of heme synthesis. If there is any defect in the enzyme which associated with the heme biosynthesis, which can lead to a specific disease that is known as porphyrias, which is an inborn error of metabolism associated with biosynthesis of heme. Usually it is characterized by increased production and excretion of porphyrins or their precursors. So these porphyrias are classified into hepatic porphyria and erythropoietic porphyrias. So what is the meaning of hepatic porphyria and erythropoietic porphyria? So in first slide we have discussed that heme biosynthesis predominantly occur in liver cells and RBC. So depends on where the heme biosynthesis occurs and where the defect of enzyme, whether it is in the liver heme biosynthetic enzyme or whether it is in the erythropoietic enzyme which is present in the erythropoietic enzyme which is responsible for the heme biosynthesis. Depends on that, it is classified into two, hepatic and erythropoietic porphyria. Or the third category is porphyrias with both erythropoietic and hepatic abnormalities. So, if you are observing the overall heme biosynthesis, you can see that almost all the enzyme deficiency can lead to a particular type of porphyria except ALA synthase enzyme, that is the first enzyme. So okay, let's go through with the various type of porphyrias. The first one is ALA dehydratase porphyria, which is simply due to the deficiency of ALA dehydratase enzyme deficiency. Now the most important one is that acute intermittent porphyria due to the enzyme deficiency PBG deaminase, which is also known as UPG1 synthase enzyme. And the second important one is that porphyria cutanea tarda, which is due to the deficiency of UPG decarboxylase enzyme. And the other type is congenital erythropoietic porphyria due to UPG3 co-synthase enzyme deficiency. Then Hereditary coproporphyria due to coproporphyrinogen oxidase deficiency. Then porphyria variegata, that is due to protoporphyrinogen oxidase enzyme. Then erythropoietic protoporphyria due to ferrochelatase enzyme deficiency. So it is mandatory to learn in detail about the heme biosynthesis. If you know the enzyme properly, you will be able to understand the porphyrias also in detail. Now, we'll be focusing mainly on the acute intermittent porphyria. I said the deficiency is PBG deaminase, which is also known as UPG1 synthase. Here, suppose this enzyme deficiency occurs, what all the intermediate will be getting accumulated. So, the just immediate intermediate is porphobilinogen and also ALA. ALA is delta aminolevulinic acid and PBG is porphobilinogen. These two levels will be getting elevated. Then the urine will be colorless when voided, but will be dark in color, or the color will be become deepen or dark red in color on standing because due to photooxidation of porphobilinogen to porphyrin. So once the porphyrin ring system generated or porphyrin, because of the presence of this carbon double bond, which can specifically absorb the specific wavelength from the solid brand. That is the reason for the development of color after if you are keeping the urine for long time. And there is no photosensitivity as porphyrins are not elevated in blood. Only in case of urine porphyrin is developed because if you are keeping it for a long time, porphobilinogen can be converted into porphyrin. There is no photosensitivity as because the intermediate porphyrin ring system is not getting elevated in blood. Now, other symptoms are here. The symptoms appear intermittently. That is, the name is given as acute intermittent porphyria. It is a little imitated. That means sometimes the patient may come up with the symptom as severe acute abdominal pain and sometimes severe neurological manifestation. So if the patient comes up with acute abdominal pain, the doctor or surgeon may not be able to reach to a definitive diagnosis because acute abdominal pain can be the symptom of lots of other diseases like appendicitis or any other lower abdominal diseases. So it may not be, the doctor may not be able to reach to a definite diagnosis. That is why the name is given as acute intermittent porphyria. And neurological manifestations also will be there, either sensory or motor disturbances, confusion, agitation, etc. And psychiatric symptoms like mania. So here even the psychiatrists also may get some doubt as it is as a typical psychiatric disease, but it is not due to the typical psychiatric disease. The neurological symptom may appear as sensory and motor disturbances, confusion, agitation, etc. And usually the women have less severe manifestation, which can be precipitated by starvation and alleviated by decreased by the high carbohydrate. So we have discussed in detail about the heme chemistry, heme biosynthesis, and little bit about the disorders. Now let us focus in detail about the heme catabolism. So we have already had a class on jaundice and liver function test, but we were supposed to have this heme catabolism in detail before the class. Unfortunately, we could not take. Now let's go in detail with the heme metabolism. So we know that the lifespan of RBC is 120 days. So after 120 days, what happens to this RBC? So this degradation of RBCs which occurs inside the spleen, bone marrow, liver and lymph nodes. First of all, what happens? The hemoglobin, the globin part is detached from the hemoglobin molecule and which will be going to the globin part is enters in the amino acid pool where it can be reutilized. Now the heme which is degraded in the reticuloendothelial cells to a linear tetrapyrrole molecule as delivered initially. So the enzyme which helps to open the ring system is that heme oxygenase enzyme, which is a complex mitosomal enzyme. This heme oxygenase enzyme which helps to break down the methinyl bridge between pyrrole 1 and pyrrole 2 using the coenzyme as NADPH, cytochrome C and molecular oxygen and opening this tetrapyrrole ring system into a linear one as a linear tetrapyrrole as biliverdin. That is a uh, first catabolic product of heme, and once it happens, what will happen, the iron will be taken up, the ferrous ion is oxidized to ferric iron and will be released and will be reutilized. So this is the first stage, the catabolism of heme. Hemoglobin, the globin part will be enter in the amino acid pool and reutilized. Heme oxygenase enzyme which help for the opening of the heme molecule, and it forms the linear tetrapyrrole ring system as biliverdin. Here the enzyme is heme oxygenase. Then what happens? Another enzyme, biliverdin reductase enzyme, which help for the reduction of biliverdin to bilirubin. So this bilirubin, now let's see the fate of bilirubin. Fate of bilirubin explained under four headings. First one is uptake of bilirubin by liver. Second one is conjugation of bilirubin with the liver. Third one is secretion of conjugated bilirubin into bile. And the fourth is the excretion of bilirubin. So the now first stage is that uptake of bilirubin by liver. What does it mean? So this many portion we have already discussed. So the bilirubin which synthesized after the catabolism of heme is known as unconjugated bilirubin. This unconjugated bilirubin is water insoluble. Okay, so this unconjugated bilirubin should be go to liver cells to make it water soluble with the procedure known as conjugation with the glucuronic acid. So this unconjugated bilirubin will bind with albumin molecule. Albumin is a protein which bind with bilirubin, and which is a transport protein, helps to transport this bilirubin into liver. Okay, so now the next step is that the conjugation of bilirubin inside the liver cells. So in liver hepatocytes, the glucuronic acid, what is glucuronic acid? Which is an alternative oxidation pathway of carbohydrate, isn't it? Uronic acid pathway where uronic acid is or glucuronic acid is synthesized. Here comes the role of glucuronic acid which combined with this bilirubin. Once it unconjugated bilirubin and albumin complex enters to the liver cells, the albumin will goes back and the bilirubin is available here now, which combined with glucuronic acid and to form bilirubin monoglucuronide and bilirubin diglucuronide. Initially a single glucuronic acid binds, the second molecule bind and form bilirubin diglucuronide. The enzyme which catalyzes this reaction is glucuronide transferase enzyme. Okay, now this is a second stage, that is the conjugation of bilirubin in the liver cells. Remember, the conjugation is to make the insoluble bilirubin into a soluble bilirubin. Okay, now once it becomes conjugated or soluble bilirubin, the next stage is that the secretion of conjugated bilirubin into the bile. Okay, along with the gallbladder. So conjugated bilirubin secreted in the bile, and what will happen along with the bile which enters into the secreted into the intestine. Now the next is that the first step is that the excretion of bilirubin. Now conjugated bilirubin enter inside the intestine. It has multiple roles. First, what will happen? Bilirubin, here a bacterial intestinal enzyme which help for the deconjugation of this conjugated bilirubin, and the glucuronic acid will be goes back to the liver, and conjugated bilirubin, deconjugated bilirubin has multiple fate. That is, either it can be excreted in the form of stercobilinogen through the feces, or it can be excreted in the urine in the form of urobilinogen. So this urobilinogen which gives yellow color to the urine, and stercobilinogen which gives yellow color to the feces. And you can see that a little bit fraction of this unconjugated bilirubin will undergoing an enterohepatic circulation which will goes back to the liver, and again these procedures occurs. So this is the overall pathway of heme catabolism. which explain overall under 5 headings. First one, we are describing the catabolism of heme into bilirubin by heme oxidase and biliverdin reductase. Then we have explained the transport of bilirubin along with albumin. Then we have explained the conjugation of bilirubin with glucuronic acid by glucuronide transferase enzyme. Next is secretion of this thing into intestine, where deconjugation occurs by the intestinal bacteria or glucuronidase enzyme, which is present inside the intestine. And the final fate is in the form of either stercobilinogen or urobilinogen, or some amount is undergoing the enterohepatic circulation. So we have discussed in detail about the heme catabolism. Now the terminology is like conjugated bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin, and all. Unconjugated bilirubin is the bilirubin which is water insoluble or which is lipid soluble, which is bound to albumin. Conjugated bilirubin which is not bound to albumin, which is water soluble because which is already conjugated with glucuronic acid, which become water soluble. And the meaning of total bilirubin is that the combination of conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin. So in LFT you have learned the bilirubin estimation. While estimating bilirubin, there may be total bilirubin, unconjugated bilirubin and conjugated bilirubin. In differential diagnosis of jaundice, you have seen the role of these three parts. Usually unconjugated bilirubin, which elevates in hemolytic jaundice. Then in obstructive jaundice, usually conjugated bilirubin elevates. In hepatic jaundice, both conjugated and unconjugated bilirubin elevates. The plasma levels of bilirubin, total bilirubin is 0.2 to 0.8 milligram per deciliter. Conjugated bilirubin is 0.2 to 0.6 milligram per deciliter. Unconjugated bilirubin is 0 to 0.2 milligram per deciliter. When the blood level of total bilirubin exceeds greater than 1 milligram per deciliter, that is known as hyperbilirubinemia. And the level between 1 and 2 milligram per deciliter, that is the indication of latent jaundice. When the level goes greater than 2 milligram per deciliter, that is known as a true jaundice or icterus condition. I hope this already been discussed under the liver function test, Vandenberg test. This is a basic test to analyze bilirubin in blood. This is a methodology. Let me explain. Here, when the bilirubin reacts with the diacetized sulfanilic acid, it gives a purple colored azo pigment. At pH 5, this will develop a purple color. Conjugated bilirubin being water soluble, which gets the color immediately when it reacts with the diacetylized sulfanilic acid. So that reaction is known as direct reaction. So also conjugated bilirubin is known as direct bilirubin. Unconjugated bilirubin, it is a water soluble one. So it has to be extracted first with alcohol. When the reaction becomes positive, which will be known as indirect reaction. So here unconjugated bilirubin should be reacted with alcohol first, then it has to undergo reaction with the diacetylized sulfanilic acid. So only indirect reaction, only this will be getting a positive purple color. So unconjugated bilirubin is also known as indirect bilirubin. This is all about today's class. So please go through in detail. You should have a brief knowledge on the chemistry of hemoglobin or heme, and you should have a knowledge on heme biosynthesis through that pathway and little bit about the disorders associated with, and you should know the catabolism pathway. Heme catabolism can be asked for a 5-mark question. Heme biosynthesis in addition to Porphyrias also can be asked for a 5-mark question. Vandenberg reaction sometimes can ask for a 3-mark question. Thank you all.